Today we have amongst us Dr. Milind Joshipura, professor from Nirma University. I request Alpesh Rana sir to welcome Professor Milind.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Okay, sir.
Dr. Dr. Milind Joshipura, sir is working currently as a professor in a chemical engineering department, School of Engineering, Institute of Technology, Nirma University. Sir possesses 21 years of teaching experience and his research area is thermodynamics, process integrations, process simulation and advanced distillation systems. Sir has published 25 papers in peer-reviewed journals and more than 50 in conferences. He has a patent on an improved process for the production of biodiesel from jatropha oil, granted by Indian Patent Office to its credit. Sir has guided 1 PhD students and 2 is currently guiding. Sir has worked on several funded projects by various funding agencies. He is involved in environmental audit cell of Nirma University. Sir has conducted several workshops on MATLAB, IC, Excel, and environment management. Sir has worked as resource person for many national level seminar, workshops, training program on simulations, process integration, and distillation. And Sir is also running various YouTube channels on different courses of chemical engineering. Okay, so with this introduction, I request to Professor Milind Joshipura sir to continue his session. Welcome, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Professor Alpesh, for this nice, introduction. One thing which I always like is, is to teach and to share knowledge. So, our profession has become, quite, administrative and research oriented, wherein at some point in time we forget teaching, but I think teaching is something which is my passion, and I think because of that only I'm in this profession. So all other things apart, I would always like to, conduct the classes. Naturally, offline would have been much better because there we can, see each other. But this is how it was to be. So let us start with, online FDP, STTP, whatever we said. At the outset, I would like to convey, my thanks to the management of this particular program, specifically Professor Rana and uh, Naina Madam. Naina Madam is a new name for me, so but yeah, Naina Madam. Me and she, we were classmate in during our masters, so we share a different bond. Yeah, yeah, and I would also like to thank the management here at Nirma because they have been very supportive to me in last more than 20 years, and whatever I have been I've been able to add to my knowledge. I think that is thanks to Nirma. So I must thank them. Naturally, our professors, Naina Madam would naturally endorse, specifically Professor Dapke, under whom I am, I was kind of groomed as a teacher, you may say, or as a person who get into thermodynamics. So these are all the people who have really groomed us. Naturally, my family, right? So that is one thing. Another aspect is what I'm going to deal today with is something which is not uh, you know uh, very it is not a kind of a research topic. It is just a topic which we teach. I hope this is visible to all. Just a minute. I think is it visible now?
Yes, yes, sir. Visible.
Okay, great. So this is something which I always, I always feel that is, this is something where a chemical engineer can reduce the consumption of water. And this is a topic I think which is being taught at so many places. So some of you might also be aware about this. So there is nothing new which I am going to deliver, but I feel that this kind of training programs can help people who are into this to refresh what they may not be teaching to their students, or which they can take to another level, maybe during seminar or projects work. So this is a topic which generally is taught during a process integration course, or maybe during some process synthesis course, right? So that is one thing. Secondary thing, as they always say, that a session immediately after lunch is always difficult. And today I am conducting a session which is after the lunch, and this is maybe it's up to me to grade whether it is difficult or not, because since I am not able to see you, it is easy for me, and maybe since I am not able to see or you are not able to see me, it is difficult for all of us. So whenever you feel that you feel kind of dozy, you can just raise a query so that you will also be able to be part of it. Only request is, if at all you start feeling dozy and get into sleep, please mute yourself, because your snoring should not disturb others, right? Because let them sleep as well, right? So with this note, I think I'll start with this presentation. Process integration is something wherein basically it is divided into two main zones. One is pinch technology, which is based on some fundamentals, which is based on certain rules, and other is classical mathematical approach. You convert the problem into mathematical statement, use some optimization technique, and solve them. So when you solve using mathematical optimization, you need the problem in front of you and you need mathematical software in front of you, and you solve it. The other option is, you have a problem, you convert them using some laws of fundamental laws which we have studied in chemical engineering, say for example some heat transfer law, some thermodynamic law. So that will convert the problem into a kind of solvable problem. Then we use either a graphical approach or maybe a algebraic approach to solve them. Basically, if you search for pinch technology in Google, right, out of 10 results which you will get, right, 9 results would be concentrating on this. That is thermal pinch, that is heat exchanger networking. So in fact, it is like, pinch technology itself becomes heat exchanger networking. For so many of us, heat exchanger networking is nothing but pinch. However, pinch has its own importance. Pinch is not always heat exchanger. Pinch can be mass, pinch can be thermal, that is heat integration. So pinch technology can be further divided into heat integration and mass integration. And within mass integration, what we can discuss is water pinch technology, wherein we can try to save the amount of water which we are using in industry. Yeah, if any of you are having any doubts, you can raise the query in between, and I'll not say that every doubt I'll be able to clear here itself. It is quite possible that at some point in time I may also not be able to solve a problem or solve a query, but I think at least if you can share something with me, I'll be able to get back to you. Another aspect is, I think, madam, I have been allotted 2 hours, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so within 2 hours, I have got only 35 to 40 slides. So within this 2 hours, I'm not intending to, complete whatever has been, prepared by me, because this kind of training program gives all of us a freedom, as a teacher, it gives us a freedom to discuss what we want, rather than, to discuss in a way we need to, finish everything. We may not finish everything. It's okay. This presentation I'll share with the, organizer, and they can in turn share it with you. And this presentation is more or less prepared from 2 sources. I'll tell you those 2 sources. One is the book of Robin Smith on process design and integration. It's a very good book. Many of you might be aware about that book. Another is one paper by Oleson and Polly on water networking for single contaminant. So these are the 2 sources, and remaining slides I have taken from some various sources from of the internet, but majorly these are the 2 sources, right? So you can interrupt in between anytime when you feel so. Okay. So water pinch, basically it is a systematic approach for analyzing water networks, right? And reducing water cost for the processes. So we see, we are lucky still that we are not paying for water at our home, right? So we are getting the water almost free of cost at our places. However, industries are not getting it for free. Industry are paying for the water they use in two ways. In fact, one is while they use the water, they have to pay for the fresh water. Second, when they want to just discard that water, they have to treat it. So that again is a treatment. And if it is a partial treatment, they have to send it to CETP. So they have to pay to CETP per kiloliter of the waste which they are discharging. So if they can save some amount of water, right, that means if they just use less water in their process, that means they are saving on the money for the saving on the cost for the fresh water amount, plus they are also saving on the cost of wastewater treatment. So it's a double benefit if they can reduce the consumption of water. And naturally, the third benefit which we are here for is sustainability, is for the overall mother nature. That if you reduce the consumption of water, it is going to help us in a longer way. So we just want to reduce the water cost for the process using this, right? And you have two options: graphical design method and numerical solution. So I think I'll try to discuss both of them here. Graphical design method is elaborately provided by Smith book, and numerical solution approach is provided by Oleson and Poli, and some other books are also there. However, I have concentrated on these two sources. So this is how we can prevent the pollution, or we can reduce the generation of waste. I think this is self-explanatory, so I don't need to explain anything here. You can just have a look at this and just have a look at it. Okay. So coming back to the usage of water, this is a typical water use in a process plant or in a process site. So we have the raw water coming in. You need to treat that. So this also is a cost. Then we send it to various process utilities, process uses. So what we're using, unit 1, 2, 3, it generates wastewater, and you have this.
Sir, sorry to disturb you.
Bolo, madam.
Sir.
Bolo.
Sir, can you shift to the full screen mode, the slides?
Yeah, just a minute. Just a minute. I will.
Okay, no worry.
Is it making difference now, or I don't know?
No, it is same.
Because I have gone into the presentation mode and I've made full screen there.
Okay.
So if it's not, should I stop the sharing and start back?
No, we are on the introductory slide. Barabar?
Oh, we are there only? Oh, I was
yes.
Just a minute.
No.
Is it moving?
Yes, sir.
No.
It is not moving.
Oh, just a minute. I'll stop sharing and I'll come back. Just a minute.
Okay.
Just a minute. Oh. So thank you for letting me know that it was not this time. So again, there is an introduction slide.
Yes, sir.
Now, let me know, is it changing?
Yes. Now it is changing.
Okay. So let us revise everything which I said. I'm sorry, I was not aware that it was not changing. So it was changing here, but not there. Okay. It's a very common thing which happens. Okay, so process integration can be, classified or can be having two branches: pinch technology and mathematical optimization. So as I said, you can convert the problem into a mathematical approach and then solve it using some software. It could be linear or non-linear, whatever. You can use a software like GEMS or Excel or whatever. There are so many. MATLAB can use so many various approaches to solve them, and there is no there is no basic fundamental law coming into picture, because if you have a set of equations, you solve it. There is other approaches, pinch technology. So in pinch technology, we use heat transfer law, thermodynamic law, maybe mass transfer law when it goes to mass integration, and we try to convert the problem into some fundamental equations which we know as a chemical engineer, and then we solve it, right, using some approach, right? As I was discussing, pinch technology, 9 out of 10, you will talk about heat exchanger network, right? But pinch technology is not only heat exchanger networking, it also involves mass integration as well. And within mass integration, you can club water pinch technology. I hope it is moving. Are we moving ahead with the slide?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes.
So there are two approaches. One approach is that you analyze the water network and try to reduce the cost of water. And as I discussed, reducing cost of water means it will help the industry in two ways. One is by paying less for the water. Two, by paying less for the wastewater treatment, because if you use less, you generate less. So it's a double benefit if you can reduce the consumption of water. And there are two approaches to it. One is graphical method, another is numerical method. And numerical method is something which is, which was suggested by Olson and Poli. And graphical design method I have taken from Robin Smith. That is what I conveyed when I was discussing this. And this is the slide which I wanted you to have a look at it, which is self-explanatory for pollution prevention. Have a look at it. I gave some seconds to look at this slide. So we can substitute toxic chemicals. We can reduce the source consumption. We can initiate recycling, right? You can reuse, or we can reclaim from the waste. So there are various approaches of preventing pollution, right? Some of them are before the pipe, some of them are end of the pipe. Then this slide discusses, this also I discussed, no? And this is where I was told that it is not moving away. That you have a raw water treatment plant, so you take the raw water, you need to first treat it, then send it to various processes. So these are all process units, right? So process units will consume water. In turn, the water will get polluted, and the outlet of all this combinedly goes to wastewater plant, and it needs to be treated. Other portion of this water goes to utility area, where you have cooling tower, you have boiler. So all this gets used, and you have less polluted, but still it's not as raw as it was here. So you have another stream of wastewater. You mix this two, so you have a less polluted water to treat with. Ultimately, amount is more, but the pollution amount will be reduced because you are mixing a good source of waste and a worse source of waste. So you mix them and then send it to wastewater treatment. There are other uses as well for the water. We use water in industry for so many other things apart from the process and utility. So use that also generates the wastewater. Combinedly, you send it to wastewater treatment plant and you treat it. So as I told you, if you consume less here, you generate less here. So you are saving here plus here. Okay. So we can classify our water usage, water using operations in industry into two basically main classification. One, which are mass transfer based, other which are non-mass transfer based, right? So when you are having, a source which keeps on adding some kind of pollutant to water, this is something which happens. Now this stream, this line, right, is nothing but the concentration of a particular contaminant in water, right? So this is your concentration in ppm, and this is the mass addition. So as water passes, so say for example I have a process where water goes in and water comes out. During this process, some amount of contaminant is added. So this is the contamination addition to the water, and as it comes out, the concentration of contaminant is more. So naturally, this is in and this is out. So naturally, some mass is added, and because of that addition of mass in the water, the concentration level has gone from this to this. So this is the concentration which has increased. So this is delta C and this is delta M or M, right? So mass added to the water, making the concentration gradient to the water, right? Correct? Okay. So these are various water using operations in a process plant, right? So on left hand side of the screen, we have got mass transfer based operation, and on right hand side, we have got non-mass transfer based operations, right? So these are various operations which will, absorb the contaminants from various sources, because of which water gets converted into a wastewater, right? So vessel washing or absorption or reactor process. So in reactor process, the water is, coming out of the reactor. In vessel washing, the wastewater is generated due to the washing of the vessel. While it washes the vessel, it absorbs, or it basically receives contamination from the vessel. During absorption process, if you are using water as a solvent, you are absorbing the pollutant from the gas, and thereby you generate wastewater. Likewise, there are various processes. I've just given you here few examples representing examples. However, there are so many processes in industry which will add contaminants to the water. Now there are 4 general approaches which will help us to minimize the water consumption. First of them is process changes, right? So a single source of fresh water is used to supply variety of the processes. Can I move this? Okay, now I think the figure is visible properly. Is it so?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yes, visible.
So single source of fresh water is used to supply variety of processes which are P. So this is a fresh water source, and these are the sources. These are the operations. Once used, the processed waters are mixed and sent to a series of treatment operations which are T before it discharges. So now if I make changes in the process itself so that it consumes less water, I can minimize the consumption of water, right? How do I make those changes? We'll discuss, right? But in this case, I'm directly dependent on the process changes. I'm not doing anything with the outlet of the processes. So I've got fresh water. It goes to various processes. It comes out and then it mixes to make a wastewater, and it becomes it gets treated and disposed. So here, the only way I can reduce the use of fresh water is by reduction of the usage here, right? The second approach is water reuse, right? What is that? As the figure also says, the same thing is written. The effluent from some processed water, right, can be used as the feed material for the other process uses, right? And if required, Yeah, right. What you can do is you can add some amount of fresh water here to meet the requirement here. But eventually, this outlet, it doesn't directly go to wastewater. This is being used here, and combinedly this goes to this. So in this way, we are trying to reuse the water before it goes for the treatment, and thereby reducing the requirement of fresh water. Otherwise, it would have been supplied directly like this, which now is supplied like this. Naturally, for this, the process 2 P2 must be able to receive the contaminated water, right? So we must be aware about certain things. And what is that certain thing? I'll explain you as we proceed further. I think maybe directly with the use of an example. Okay, right? Okay. The third is regeneration and reuse. So here, rather than treating entire wastewater together, we do it in pieces. Because of that, what will happen? Because of that, the load on your treatment is less, and the severity also will be less. Because when you are having wastewater, which is combination of all three processes, the severity and load both would be high. Possibility of both of them would be high. Whereas here, say for example, process 1 is very mild process. It doesn't add too much of contaminant to the wastewater. In that case, rather than mixing it with others, you treat it there and then itself, right? And mix it with the fresh water. So thereby the reduction on the final plant also decreases, and the consumption of fresh water also decreases, because this can lead to the this is also reuse kind of, but before reusing you are regenerating it, correct? So this might be required, either this is mild or this requires a specific input which is not achieved by combination of the polluted water and the fresh water. So in that case you might need to treat it. So the decision of which approach we will use as an engineer depends on us. It depends on us and depends on the condition of the process. And the third is regeneration and recycling, wherein here we generate the entire wastewater, we treat it in such a way that the outlet can be reused and can be clubbed with the fresh water. So this is your fourth approach, right? Now all the four approaches clear to everyone? Process changes, reuse, regeneration, reuse, regeneration, recycle. These are the four approaches which generally we use if we want to reduce the consumption of water and thereby saving money and environment both. Okay. Now say for example, we just want to minimize the usage of water. All right, so we don't want to reuse it, we just want to minimize. How can we do that? So if all water using operations uses fresh water, right, we can reduce the amount of fresh, this is a common sense as such, right? We can reduce the consumption of fresh water by reducing the flow rate of individual operation to minimum. This leads to something called as limiting water profile. What is that? Is this. Say for example, I have an operation which uses water, right? And this is C in. Say for example, C in is 0. That is, I have a fresh water. That's why it starts from this. See, this is 0 and this is X. Right? This is 0 and this is Y. This is Y1 and this is Y2. Now see, in all the cases, the amount of mass added during the process is same, and that is X. Are you able to appreciate that? The amount of mass which I am adding to water is same. That is X. Right? But corresponding outlet concentration are different. Why? Y1, Y2, where Y is the highest concentration, Y1 and Y2. Whereas the mass added in that operation is same, X. I'm adding X mass, but C out is different. Y, Y1 and Y2. Why so? What could be the reason for that? I already indicated that in the diagram, but if someone can tell me, it will be good. Why Y1 and Y2 are different? If I'm adding the same amount of contaminant in that operation, X grams per hour, then why should Y1 and Y2 be different? Anybody?
Sir, due to change in flow rate?
Due to
Change in flow rate?
flow rate of what?
Flow rate of water?
Yeah, that means what? The amount of water which is passing through the process. Say for example, I'm passing 100 grams. I'm passing 150 grams, and I'm passing 200 grams. So what will be the contaminant? Contaminant added is X only, right? X grams. So if I convert this entire, see, generally when we talk of wastewater, we talk with respect to ppm, right? Parts per million, right? So if I go with that, what happens is, say for example, this is kg, 100 kg, 150 kg, 200 kg, right? And this is X gram. So X upon 100, X upon 150, X upon 200, convert that into ppm, right? And you know that Y would be highest because the less amount of water has passed, right? Y1 will be intermediate because it is the intermediate of these three, and 200 is because the water which has passed is the maximum. So if you look at the concentration, right, the outlet concentration is highest with the least flow rate. Do you understand this and do you agree on this? Any doubt in this or any point related to this? Anyone? So for the given fixed amount of contaminant added to water, the outlet concentration, right, will increase as the flow rate of water decreases. Do you agree on this statement? Everyone? I'm repeating that statement. With the fixed amount of contaminant added to added in a process, the outlet concentration, right, will increase with decrease in the flow rate of the water. Do you agree on that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. That means what? As I move from this to this, my flow rate is increasing because this is the highest concentration, intermediate and least. So this concentration is less, means what? I am passing more amount of water, per hour. That's why the outlet concentration is less. Does it mean just a minute? Does it mean that I can draw any line? Can I do this? And eventually I can draw a line like this. Can I draw this vertical line? Can anyone explain or can anyone tell me that what is the physical significance as I move away from this to this? What is the physical significance of this?
Flow rate is going to decrease, sir.
Yeah, that is correct. But what does it mean? If I make a vertical line, what does it mean?
The concentration level is going to increase.
The concentration level is going to
Increases.
decrease.
With the decrease in flow rate.
Increase. Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
yes, sir. Increases, sir. It is.
But as you move from here to here, practically what are we doing? Practically, we are saying that there is no water which is passing through the
Yes, sir.
operation, which is practically not possible. Is it possible?
No, sir. Practically, it is not possible.
at all. It's not possible at all. We have to use some minimum amount of water. Yes or no?
But yes, sir.
Every operation requires some minimum flow. Say for example, if it is a heat exchanger, if you remember during the design of heat exchanger, you might have studied that the flow within the tube should be minimum this. So there has to be a limitation on flow. Now limitation on the flow rate of the water can come from so many ways. If we now let us come to the mass transfer aspect of it. See, if this is something, right, which has a solubility limit in the water, right? So what will happen if the amount of water keeps on decreasing? At some point in time, this contaminant will be precipitated out. You don't want that, right? You want it to remain in a soluble state. Otherwise, it can choke your vessel. It can choke your equipment. Are you able to appreciate that? Because as I decrease the water, right, the solubility will be impacted. Yes or no? Because
Yes,
I'm
sir.
adding fixed. See, the amount of contaminant which is going to be added is fixed X, right? And to keep that in a solute, in a soluble, way, you require some minimum amount of water. So that minimum amount of water, right, leads to something called as C out max. That means there is a limit. I'm again wiping it off. There is a limit. This is C out max. Right? You can have maximum this value. Anything beyond that or anything in this side of anything here, this is not feasible. I hope this is visible. The color is visible. And this side is a feasible region. This is a feasible region. Clear to everyone? Is it clear to everyone? C out max, feasible region, non-feasible region.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, this is not feasible reason. Is it due to the overflow of water or it crosses the limit?
No, it's not because of the overflow. See, I'll tell you again. There is a operation which uses water. Now what I'm trying to do is, as I move from this to this, I'm decreasing the water flow rate. As I move from here to here, are you able to appreciate that the water flow rate is decreasing?
Yes, sir.
Yes or no? See,
Yes, sir. Decreases.
the outlet concentration is increasing because the water flow is decreasing, because the amount of mass added is fixed. That is one thing. Now see, every equipment may lead to one of the things. One, there has to be a requirement of a minimum flow rate in an equipment, right? So if that minimum flow rate is required, right, then this slope, right, cannot go beyond this. Like I cannot go this side this, because as I'm moving here, the flow rate is decreasing. Now I cannot go below this as far as flow rate is concerned. So this is one thing which makes the region infeasible. Now let us look at the other way. Other way is that, okay, my equipment can accept even much lesser flow rate, but as the flow rate decreases, the outlet concentration increases, right? If there is a limitation on outlet concentration, why outlet concentration is limited? One, as I told you, solubility is one of the reasons. Two, maybe the outlet concentration is, because see, this is one of the operations. The outlet of this is going to either a wastewater treatment plant or another process. Now your wastewater treatment is designed in such a way that it cannot accept anything beyond a specific concentration. So that will limit your outlet concentration, and that will in turn limit your flow rate, and that will in turn convert this diagram into two zones, feasible and non-feasible. Is it clear?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So there are two possibilities. C out max may limit the flow rate, or the equipment water flow rate itself, requirement of equipment flow rate also can be one of the reasons, right? And C out max can be dictated by solubility, downstream processing, wastewater treatment. Maybe some concentration can lead to corrosion. Maybe some concentration can lead to accident. So everything can contribute to C out max. But the basic reasons why the flow rate cannot go below a certain limit are two. One, minimum required flow rate. Two, maximum possible outlet concentration. Is it clear to all of you? Let me know if still you require to be discussed. Again, I'll repeat, I am in no hurry to finish all the slides. But whatever we discuss, we should be clear, because as I understand, most of the trainees would be faculty members or working professionals. So all of us know how to interpret what is given in a textbook. So if given a base, I think you'll be able to move further. So if there are no further questions here, I'll move forward. Should I?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir, please.
Thank you. So this we already discussed. As the flow rate decreases, the concentration increases. So minimum water flow, I already discussed this. Operational requirements or maximum outlet concentration. Okay. And then I hope this is clear to everyone. So that's why I have skipped that slide. Right? Operating requirements or maximum outlet concentration. That is C out max. Now what is limiting water profile? See, limiting water profile is for a given operation. There are two operations, let's say operation 1 and operation 2. Now operation 1 needs fresh water to be supplied as an inlet. That is the requirement of this operation, right? And its C out max is C out M1. Whereas operation 2 can accept some contaminated water, say for example 50 ppm. Right? This is C in. And C out is C out M2. Let us try to understand it here on this graph. So operation 1, if I am plotting operation 1 here, right? C out max, let's say is this. This is C out max for operation 1. I'm drawing it for operation 1, right? C out M1. Right? So when I connect this to, this is 0. Sorry, it has to be a straight line. So let me try to make it a straight line. If it doesn't happen now, you accept that it's a straight line. Better. Let's say this is C out M1, right? So when I connect, or when I draw a line which connects the C in max here is 0 because I need fresh water. Are you able to appreciate that? C in max is 0. Maximum possible inlet contaminant concentration for operation 1 is 0 because it requires fresh water. Making sense to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Right? So C in max is 0. C out max is C out M1, right? Okay. Now, if I draw something like this, what will happen? Can you explain me the difference between this first line and this second line? This is also for operation 1. I have not yet gone to operation 2, so don't think about operation 2. I am starting with C0, but I'm ending with concentration which is less than this, right? What could have caused it to go less than this?
Sir, we have increased the flow rate of water.
Huh?
We have increased the flow rate of fresh water.
Very good. We have increased the flow rate of fresh water. So if the flow rate of fresh water here is 20, this is 30. Right? So this is all feasible. That's what I was talking. Anything below this is feasible. But when I draw a profile which exactly matches C in max and C out max, that is known as limiting water profile. So this is a limiting water profile for operation 1. Anything below that is acceptable to me. Clear to everyone? Clear to everybody?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Let us go to operation 2 back. Operation 2. So there is slight difference. That's why I am drawing it again. C out M2. So let's say it can accept contaminants. I'm saying up to 50 ppm. So let's say this is 50 ppm. And this is C out M2. Correct? Right? Now see, anything below this, this is the profile, this is limiting water profile. Anything below this is feasible to me. Not necessary that I have to start with 50. What is the difference between these two lines, green line and red line for operation 2? Can anyone tell me?
So red line, the contaminant level is 0.
Right. And green line is contaminant level 50. So if I
Optimum
compare
level
it with
50.
yeah, if I compare it with this line, green light has a more flow rate, and that's why the concentration has gone down. Do you all appreciate this?
Yes.
Because it is starting with 50. If I tell you that the red line is parallel to black line, please accept that as a parallel line to black line. That means what? When I say parallel, it means that the slope is same and hence the flow rate is same. Even if the flow rate is same, my outlet concentration is less than the maximum concentration. The reason is
Initial concentration is
starting
less.
point. Yeah,
0.
my starting point is 0 ppm.
0.
Correct. So any particular operation, if I supply the concentration which is less than the maximum inlet, then I have, please listen to me carefully, then I have possibility to decrease the flow further and reach C out max too. Because if I want to reach it to C out max, right, I can further decrease the flow. Are you able to appreciate that with fresh water? So if I require 100 ton per hour of 50 ppm water, I can replace that with 80 ton per hour of fresh water, right? And still I get the C out max. If I supply 100 ton, my concentration will be less than C out max. Are you able to understand this two difference? If I supply 100 tons fresh water in place of 100 ton 50 ppm, then my outlet concentration will be less. If I want to fix the outlet concentration to C out M2, I can reduce the flow rate of fresh water by replacing it with 50 tons, like by replacing this 50 ppm with a fresh water, which can be 80, 70 depending upon the value of X. Are you able to appreciate these facts? Any doubt in this? Anybody?
No, sir. Clear, sir. Thank you.
Clear? Okay, great.
Yes, sir.
Great. So this is known as limiting. So limiting water profile is when we supply a particular operation with its initial maximum inlet concentration and maximum outlet concentration and corresponding flow. It is termed as limiting water profile. Clear to everybody? Should we proceed further now?
Sure, sir.
Okay, great. Okay, now in fact, if we go to industry, we will not be only talking about single contaminant, right? We'll be talking about multi-contaminant, right? So there are two distinct classification: single contaminant and multiple contaminant. Single contaminant, we talk of some chemical species like phenol or acetone or acetic acid or starch or any specific chemical which we are following in wastewater, right? We can even say that aggregate property like BOD, COD, suspended solid, total suspended solids, right? Any one of them, mind well, not all. Only BOD, single contaminant. Only COD, single contaminant. Only TSS, single contaminant. Only phenol, single contaminant. So we follow any one, either a species or a property, which is an aggregate property, right? So that becomes a part of your C, right? Concentration of phenol, concentration of acetone, concentration of starch, or BOD in ppm, COD in ppm. This becomes your, this becomes your benchmark for your particular water network, right? Or we have multiple contaminants, that is the combination of this. So we say phenol and acetone both, we follow BOD and COD both, or maybe phenol, acetone, starch all, or we follow all the properties with which we characterize our wastewater. Naturally, the mathematics associated with single contaminant is much easier to understand compared to mathematics associated with the multiple contaminants. Having said that, single contaminant mathematics develops the foundation, develops the base for multiple contaminants, and hence for our today's session, I'll be concentrating only on single contaminant, right? As we proceed further, the principle remains same, mathematics gets complex. Clear? So we'll be talking about single contaminant, reuse of the water.
Sir, please excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, please, in single contaminant, if you're saying COD alone, it is a single contaminant, or TSS alone single contaminant. But COD itself, it contains multiple oxidizable impurities, na sir?
Correct.
Then,
Correct. But then that all culminates to COD value.
Okay, if you find out
We
values
don't need
only,
to follow the we don't need to,
yeah, depends on values.
Yeah, so we depend on the value of COD. So you have to conduct the experiment for COD, and
yes, sir.
At COD, SS, TSS, BOD, they are basically representing, presence of various contaminants. Yeah, but then, for the ease of our, calculation, right? We convert them, you combine them in a one aggregate property COD. So just follow COD. That's it. Right?
Okay.
Okay. So this is, this is the, by far the steps to develop water design. So what we are going to do is we are going to discuss method for this, right? Water reuse for single contaminant. That is the second part. What we discussed first is partially this, right? That how can we reduce the consumption of water for individual plant? How can we do that? By considering C in max and C out max and provide limiting water profile. That limiting water profile is the one which gives you the least amount of waste of fresh water required. But if you want to further, save water, reuse water. How do we reuse? How do we generate this kind of network is what we are going to discuss now. And for that, these are the steps. Right, and in turn, I know that there are so many terms which are not known to you, but as we proceed further, I think I'll try to explain. Honestly, can anyone tell me that has anyone gone through all this? Anywhere in any course, anywhere you might have taught this somewhere? And if so,
No, sir. No,
please provide your
sir.
input. Yeah, anybody? Because the group is huge, I suppose. So if it is not done, I'll be happy that I could add something, right? Because this is just a basic topic. There is no research involved in this. But I categorically choose this topic, as I told you in the beginning, is that this can help you in so many ways, maybe as a part of your seminar, maybe as a part of your course which you are teaching, right? Okay. So this is the, general steps. And as we proceed further, I'll explain you one by one. And that is with the help of one of the examples. So let us try to understand this example first, and then we'll move further, right? So there are 4 operations in a plant, right? And every operation has its own, mass addition rate. So operation 1 adds 2000 grams per hour of contaminant in water. Operation 2 adds 5000 grams per hour of contaminants in water. Operation 3 adds 30,000 grams per hour contaminant in water. And operation 4 adds 4000 grams per hour of contaminant. Though in the starting we classified operations as mass transfer based and non-mass transfer based, here we are not going to discuss whether the operation is mass transfer based or non-mass transfer based, as long as it is adding the same single contaminant. I'll again go back to this slide. We are talking about this. So either that contaminant is phenol or either that contaminant is any such property, right? Okay. Another aspect, operation 1, you see, this is C in max actually, and this is C out max. So operation 1 requires always fresh water as a supply. You can just see that C in max is 0, means operation 1 requires fresh water. And maximum outlet concentration for operation 1 is what? 100 ppm. So this is how we read it. Operation 2 can accept anything up to 50 ppm. When I write C in max, it is up to. It can also be supplied with 25 ppm. It can also be supplied with 0 ppm. It can also be supplied with 45 ppm, but it cannot be supplied with 55 ppm. So this is the maximum possible inlet, right? So whenever there is anything other than 0, you can use 0 to that value. Any value in between that, you can use that to supply that particular operation. Is it clear to everyone? And in the same way, when I say outlet concentration maximum 100 means what? You can end at any value which is less than 100, either by supplying fresh water or the water which has lesser contaminant than 50, or by increasing the flow rate of the water. Correct? Both of this can decrease the concentration of outlet. Now, again, I'll tell you how this C out is decided. C out is decided based on either the minimum flow required, or it is decided based on some process constraints like solubility, like downstream processing, like wastewater, like corrosion, like hazard. Anything can, impose restriction on maximum outlet concentration. Clear? Okay. So the next is calculate limiting water flow rate. Now this limiting water flow rate is calculated simply by this equation. Flow rate equals mass contaminant upon delta C. So for first operation, if I look, it is nothing but 2000 divided by delta C is what? And the units are in such a way that this comes out to be tons per hour, because this is grams per hour, this is parts per million. So when you convert this parts per million and we write it here, it becomes tons per hour. and hence the answer would be 20 tons per hour. Correct? So if I use fresh water inlet and if I, if I let the outlet concentration be 100, I require 20 tons per hour of fresh water. What about second? For second operation, I have to write 5000 divide by
50.
100, yeah, minus 50. Why 50? Because my maximum inlet concentration is 50. Right? So that gets me answer as 100. Now just see, if I make this 0, that is fresh water, right? Then the flow rate reduces to 50. Are you able to appreciate this? Correct? So I can change that, but my limiting water profile or limiting water flow rate is always 100. Right? So if I supply 50 ppm, I cannot go below 100. That is what this means. So this is what you have to read. And in fact, this data is not to be required to be provided, right? First 3 columns can be sufficient because this can be calculated. Clear? Clear? So this is the first thing. Okay. Now let us say we are not going to reuse anything. We are just going to, go with the minimum fresh water flow for every operation. So we are not going to reuse anything. We are going to follow the first approach. What is that first approach? This approach. So if I want to minimize the consumption of fresh water, what I need to do is this. Are you able to understand this?
Yes, sir. Clear.
Yeah, first is 20 because it is 2000 upon 100. Minus fourth is 4. This 2000, 5000, 30,000 and 4,000 are nothing but the contaminants which are added, and we are supplying fresh water to every operation individually, and this is the least possible flow. Right? Correct? So what I get is 112.5 tons per hour fresh water is required if I don't use any outlet, right, as an inlet to any other operation. All right, but I require minimum 112.5 tons per hour. Any changes here, right? Any changes here will increase the flow rate of water. So this is my first approach, that I'll use 100. Anything which I am using beyond 112.5, I have a scope of improvement. Correct? Clear to everyone? Okay. Now let us try to, go to reuse. And for reuse, the first thing is to draw composite curve. Are you able to understand what are these 4 arrows? Just try and
Yes, sir. The flow rate from 0, next starting 50.
So this is my operation 1, this is my operation 2, this is my operation 3, and this is my operation 4. Now what I'm doing is, even though in plant these operations might be working parallel to each other, what I am trying to do is, say, I'll just draw it here, right? So you try to understand. Operation 1, operation 2, operation 3, and operation 4. Now they need not be in the same sequence, right? It is quite possible that the operation 4 which I have listed here is taking place first, right? It is quite possible that operation 2 and 3 are working in parallel, right? What I will be, this is the best part about, converting anything in mathematics, which we term as model, right? We are modeling the process like this. We are trying to model the entire process as one composite process, wherein here the fresh water gets in, and here the wastewater comes out. Now, in between this, there can be any reshuffling. Operation 4 can be first, operation 3 can be first, or 2 and 3 can be parallel, or 1 and 4 can be parallel. Anything can happen, right? What I will, understand is that in this set of 4 operation, total 41,000 grams per hour of contaminant is added to the water for the all 4 process combined. Are you able to appreciate that? Right? So I have fresh water. 0 ppm, and I'm adding 41,000 in fresh water, and I have some wastewater generated. Now I'll be able to find out the composition or the concentration of wastewater once I decide the flow rate of the fresh water. Correct? So I'll try to do that. So in order to do that, I am trying to put them on the same scale, on the same graph. So this is the graphical approach. If you remember, in the beginning, I said that there are 2 approaches. Graphical approach and numerical solution. So we are discussing graphical approach, and that graphical approach will give you the concept. It will give you the concept, and then based on that, some mathematics which is very easy to understand is developed, and I'll be taking the same example to explain graphical and mathematical approach, so that you will be able to appreciate the difference. So please take this graphical approach for understanding the concept of the approach, and we will implement that using the mathematical approach by using the concept. So what do we do is, operation 1 runs from 0 to 100, right? Operation 2 runs from 50 to 100. Operation 3 runs from 50 to 800, and operation 4 runs for 400 to 800. Now what we will do is, we convert this into various concentration intervals. If you have studied pinch technology, or if you have taught pinch technology, if you remember, if I compare mass integration with heat integration, there the gradient is heat, that is temperature. Here the gradient is mass, that is composition. In pinch technology, we convert the problem into temperature intervals. Here we convert the problem into concentration intervals. Have you studied process integration, heat exchanger, networking, pinch technology? Anybody? Anybody?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Then I hope most of you will be having a chemical engineering background, and if so, you'll be able to appreciate it in a better way. Okay. So these are all concentration intervals, right? And for each interval, right, we say that for this interval, this is my entire process. For interval 50 to 100, I need to combine these 3. So what I do is, I add the slopes of these 3 lines and make one composite line, which takes the concentration from 50 to 100 by adding 5 kg per hour or 5,000 grams per hour. Right? Now, in doing so, as you can see that between 50 to 100, operation 1, right, is partially involved, operation 2 is entirely involved, and operation 3 is also partially involved, right? So actually we are taking some piece from operation 1, some from 2, some from 3. So that is practically not happening, but we are modeling it as this. So between concentration 50 to 100, there are 3 operations which are combinedly taking place and which will take the concentration level to this, right? Between 100 to 400, there is only one operation, and hence this also will overlap that. Correct? Between 400 to 800, there are two operations, and because of that, the slope will be different. So what we are going to do is we are going to add the slopes of operations which are present in that mixture, and this red line is known as composite curve. This composite curve represents all the four processes as one single process wherein water line enters, passes through this and comes out. Right? That is what is the principle behind drawing composite curve. So that just like the way we discussed about single process, right? This becomes your limiting water profile for the four operations combined. So whatever analysis we did there, we are going to do it here, right? Here also we'll try to do the limiting water profile, feasible region, infeasible region, and we're going to convert into some mathematics at the end. Is the concept clear to everybody? Is the concept clear to everyone? Any doubt in this? Anybody? Okay, I hope everyone is clear about this. Okay, right. So this is your limiting composite curve, which I had drawn in the red line, is now here the black line. So this becomes your limiting composite curve. Anything on this side is infeasible, and this is feasible. So you can draw a line like this. You can draw a line like this, or you can draw a line like this. All these lines are feasible lines. But if you draw a line like this, then this is infeasible. Even if it comes back to the feasible region, this portion will make it infeasible. That means what? For this region, the concentration is more than the maximum possible concentration for this particular process, right? Okay. So this becomes your limiting composite curve. How do we use that limiting composite curve? This is what I explained. Now that means we can find the minimum flow rate of water by drawing a line which just touches here, right? So this is the line which you have to draw which will just touch the limiting water profile, correct? And this point is pinch point, and the concentration is 100 ppm. And what will be the flow rate of that line? If I want to find the flow rate of that line, it is 9,000 divided by 100. Why 9,000? Because it touches this point at this 9, right? So 9,000 upon 100, making it to be 90 turns per hour. So when you actually draw this on graph, you will realize that it will touch, this point will touch at 9 kg per hour or 9,000 gram per hour, and corresponding concentration would be 100, and hence when you try to get the flow rate of this line, it becomes nothing but 90 tons per hour. Just compare it with this value. So if you supply fresh water to all the four operations, you require 112.5 tons per hour. If you reuse the water, right, the target for fresh water reduces to 90 tons per hour. Correct? Do you understand this conceptually? right? You need to plot it on a piece of graph paper to get the actual values. How do you plot it? By using the numerical values which were supplied to you as a part of the problem statement, right? So this is graphical approach of determining the pinch point and minimum water flow. In fact, there is one more thing. If you look at this, these are the two regions of pinch. This is below pinch and this is above pinch. Now see, below pinch, 90 tons per hour is proper. But above pinch, you have another scope of reducing the flow rate. Are you able to appreciate this? Are you able to appreciate this? I can take the concentration level up, right? So if I supply entirely 90 tons per hour throughout, then the outlet concentration will be this. But if I supply lesser flow rate, my outlet concentration can go to 800 as well. Right? How do I do that? I'll explain you as we proceed further. Right? But is 90 tons per hour and 100 ppm clear to everyone? Any doubt in this? Anybody? 90 tons per hour and 100 ppm. Conceptually, if it is clear, we can proceed further because I'll explain you how to do this numerically. In next 2 slides, I'll explain you how to get the value of 90 numerically. It is by generating a table similar to problem table algorithm of your pinch technology. Let us see that. Okay. So tabular approach for determining pinch and minimum fresh water flow. So let us say I have written the same problem statement here, right? I've got 4 operations: contaminant 2000, 5000, 30,000, 4000, C in max 0, 50, 50, 400, C out max 100, 100, 800, 800, limiting water flow 2000 upon 100, 20, 5000 upon 50, 100, 30,000 upon 750, 40, 4000 upon 400, 10, and fresh water is 2000 upon 100, 5000 upon 100, 30,000 upon 800, and 4000 upon 800. So this will give me fresh water flow, right? This is what we have already done. Okay, so now what I'll do is I'll write, rather than putting it on a piece of graph paper, I'll convert this into intervals. When I write the intervals, what I need to do is I need to start with 0, 50, 100, 400, and 800. These are the concentration interval, right? 0, 50, 100, 400, 800. So you don't need to write the duplicate values twice, right? They make one single interval. And then populate my operations on this interval. So when I populate my operation first, what I do is I run from 0 to 100. Second operation, I run from 50 to 100. Third operation, I run from 50 to 800. And fourth operation, I run from 400 to 800. Right? Is this clear to everybody? Is this clear to everyone? Right? And then I have to write corresponding flow rates. What are my corresponding flow rates? Limiting water flow rates: 20, 100, 40, and 10. So the next thing is, let me go to the next slide. So that is this clear to everybody? Is this understood by everyone? Any doubt in this? Make the interval concentration and then draw the operations, right? And write the flow rates. So let me go to the next slide. This is what I have already done. So this is what I explained to you, right? Concentrate on this column. How did I get this column? Can anyone explain how did I get this column? Anyone? Between 0 to 50. How many operations are there between 0 to 50?
One operation.
Yeah,
One.
only one operation, right? And correspondingly, I have written the flow here 20. Between 50 to 100, how many operations are there?
3.
3. What are their corresponding flow rates? 20, 100 and 40. If you remember, I said while I was drawing limiting composite curve, I said that we need to add the slopes of this line, right? These 3 lines to make this line. How do we do that? By adding the flow rates of water here. So 100 plus 20 plus 40 making it 160. Right? Between 100 and 400, how many operations are there?
Only one operation.
Only one.
Operation 3.
Hence, this is 40. And between 400 and 800, there are 2 operations. Hence, I made it 40 plus 10, 50. Right? This is again similar to your heat integration networking problem table algorithm. So for every interval, now I have the flow rate with me, right? So correspondingly, I can find out the contaminant mass, which is going to be added within that flow rate. Right? So between 0 to 50, only one operation, that is operation 1. So 20 into 50, making it 1000. Between 50 and 100, the flow rate is 160. And the delta C, see again, the equation is this only. This is the basic equation. So if I want to find out mass contaminant, I have to multiply flow rate with delta C. So what is my flow rate? 160. What is delta C? 50. So corresponding mass added is 8000. For this interval, 40 into 300 making it 12,000. For this interval, 50 into 400 making is 20,000. So is this clear to everybody?
Yes, sir.
Correct? Okay. So this is for every individual interval. What I want is, I want the cumulative addition on the line, on the graph line. 0, 1. See, you can just see this. These are all corresponding to the same. Now I think you'll be able to appreciate. 1, 8, 12, 20. Are you able to appreciate this? Up to 50,000. Between 50 and 100, 8. So making it total to 9. Between 100 and 400, 12 kg per hour. Making total to 21. Between 21 and 41, 20,000 or 20 kg per hour, making this from 21 to 41. Is it clear to everybody now? That's what I have done here. This column. 0, 1000, 9,000, 21,000, 41,000. So this is cumulative mass addition. Considering all the 4 operations to be 1 operation. So what happens is, fresh water goes in and wastewater comes out with addition of 41,000 gram per hour of contaminants. Considering all the 4 operations together. Right? Is this clear? Okay. Now how to draw or how to convert drawing of this line into mathematics? So what is the base for this? The base for that is that if I supply for every interval, if I supply the fresh water, right? For every interval, if I supply fresh water, what will be the corresponding flow rate? That is my last column. Just see how did I get the last column? 1000 divided by 20 minus 0. Why 0? I'm supplying fresh water. Just look at this fresh water flow. This is 9,000. I have to supply 100 minus 0. So 90. This is 21,000. I have to supply 400 minus 0. 52.5. 41,000. 800 minus 0. making it 51.25. All right. So this is what I've got as the fresh water flow if every interval, see, if every interval is supply with fresh water rather than the minimum concentration of the water. So if I do that, I get this values. And out of this, how do I decide which is my pinch point? Like in this case, we know the answer. Do we know the answer for this? We know the answer, 90 and 100, right? But how do I justify that? How do I explain it to you? Here I know 90, but out of this column, this is minimum fresh water flow for a corresponding, interval. You have to select the maximum value out of this, which makes, right, which makes the minimum fresh water flow. Why maximum? Is because if I supply anything less than this, just come down to this graph. If I supply anything less than 90, what will happen? I'll move in the infeasible region. All other, right, 52 or 20 or 55, if I supply them, corresponding to that, 90 will always be in feasible region. Are you able to appreciate that? So if I supply 20, only till this point it is feasible region, everything else is infeasible. If I supply 52.5, intermediately it will be infeasible region. If I supply 51.25, intermediately it will be infeasible region. But if I supply 90, throughout the curve, it will be in the feasible region. Only this point is the one where it pinches, right? So how do I get that from the table? From the table, correspondingly, the pinch concentration is 100 and the mass which is going to be added till pinch point is 9,000. So is this tabular approach clear to everyone? So given a problem, you should be able to convert it into this form and should be able to find the pinch point and corresponding concentration. Clear to everybody? Clear to everyone? Any doubt in this?
Participants can ask if any doubt is there.
Okay. I hope I have not made you sleep by discussing all this.
No, sir, it's clear, it's clear.
Okay.
Thank you.
Fine. So the next point is, how do we find out? See, above the pinch, the flow rate is 90. That is this. Above the pinch, it is 90. If I continue with 90, I'll generate 90 tons per hour of wastewater with this concentration. Whereas for this particular process, you can generate up to 800 ppm. So how do I do that? So for getting the flow rate below pinch, what I do is, see, till pinch point, out of 41,000, 99,000 grams per hour mass is already added to the water. So the remaining mass which is going to be added after pinch is 32,000 for this particular problem, right? And what is the delta C after pinch? So till pinch point, the concentration is 100 ppm. And after that, it will be 800 minus 100, which is making it to be 700. And hence the flow rate is 32,000 upon 700, making it 45.71 tons per hour, which is nothing but this line. In this diagram, it is this line. 32,000 divided by 800 upon 100. So it's a limiting water flow. You can just see. So what happens to the remaining amount? So you have 90 tons per hour of fresh water, and then 45.7 goes further. So from pinch, you remove 90 minus 45.7 and add it to a base water. I'll just show you what I am trying to, say. This is something which I am trying to say. So you convert the entire piece of problem into two distinct zones. This is how we are going to design our entire network. Two zones. Up to pinch, that is below pinch, and then after pinch, that is above pinch. So we have 3 water mains. First, fresh water, I need 90 tons per hour. Then I have 100 ppm 90 tons per hour, out of which 45.7 will go further and this will go to wastewater. Right? And 45.7 will be, passing through this and it will reach to 800 ppm, and this is my third water mains. Clear to everybody? So this will be our design strategy. What we'll do is we'll take all the operations to 100 ppm first, and then from 100 ppm we'll take it to 800 ppm. Correct? Is the idea clear to everybody? Then I can proceed further.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Reshma madam?
Yes, yes, sir.
सबको चाय पिलाएंगे आप?
Sir, you can continue. No, it is up to 3:30.
हाँ, मैं तो जस्ट ऐसे ही बोल रहा था, सबको चाय अपने घर पे तो घर पे पिला दीजिए, so that I can get some responses.
Okay, sir. Sure, sir.
Okay, ठीक है, चलो.
Okay, sir. And
So that is something which, if it would be a physical, training program, I could have requested them to, send the tea in. I would be also having a cup of tea and we could have discussed in that manner. Anyway, some other time. Okay. Shall we proceed further?
yes, yes, sir. Yes, yes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you. So next now is to first explain this in fact a tougher job. Explain you the design grid first. Here also I'll try to explain you first graphically and then numerically, right? Numerically, again, the approach which was suggested by Olson and Poli, which goes with some load table calculation, and I would wish that all of you just, come back to this, and this will be an interesting thing. However, you will have to scratch your head for last maybe 15-20 minutes which are remaining now, right? So ready for that? Ready for the bumpy ride? Then I can continue further. Okay, so I talked about these 3 mains, right? Fresh water, pinch point, and final. So that is converted into these 3 water mains: fresh water, pinch concentration, and final concentration. Right now our job is to populate our operations on these grids. So don't look at everything, just try to follow what I am trying to show you. So this is my first operation, this is my second operation, this is my third operation, and this is my fourth operation, right? This is not to the scale, don't worry. It runs from, first operation runs from fresh water to 100 ppm. This is based on the data which we have been provided, right? 0 to 100, 50 to 100, 50 to 800, 400 to 800. So 0 to 100, 50 to 100, 50 to 800, 400 to 800, right? Now, see, we have 90 tons per hour of fresh water, which we need to supply, and we have to take this entire 90 tons to 100 ppm, correct? Okay. My limiting water flow for every operation is provided here: 20, 100, 40, and 10. Right? So this 20 corresponds to operation 1, 100 corresponds to operation 2, 40 corresponds to operation 3, and 10 corresponds to operation 4. Right? So seemingly, I can directly provide 20 tons per hour of fresh water to operation 1, and thereby I can tick this off. That means my operation 1, I can supply, because I have 90 tons per hour of fresh water supply, I can supply 20 tons per hour here, and thereby my remaining 70 tons per hour I can supply between operation 2, 3, and 4. Is it clear to everybody?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so that is what I have done here. 20 tons per hour I supplied, right? Look at operation 2. If I supply 50 ppm, I require 100 tons. But if I supply fresh water, I require 50 tons. Have we discussed this? We already have that in our table, right? Operation 2, if I supply fresh water, I can have 50 tons per hour. Correct? I have 70 tons per hour of fresh water with me, and that is minimum which I require. I cannot go below that 90. I already explained. I cannot use 20. I cannot use 55. I cannot use 52. I have to use minimum 90 tons per hour. So now there is no scope for me to reduce the consumption of fresh water. So what I do is, rather than 50 ppm, here I use 50 tons per hour of fresh water. So if I do that, this particular operation can be dealt with. Correct? What is the final concentration for that? So these two operations have been able to supply with fresh water, first with 20, second with 50 tons per hour. Clear to everybody? Clear to everybody? Come down to third operation. Now third operation is the one which is passing across the pinch. So I have to design this in both the section, and then I have to decide what I am going to do. Right? So let us understand that. See, you have to understand one thing, and that is the mass balance or material balance is tight. How much contaminant is added in operation by operation 1 and 2? Total contaminant added? 2 and 5, 7, right? Operation 1, contaminant added is 2000 grams per hour or 2 kg per hour, and operation 2, contaminant added is 5 kg per hour or 5000 grams per hour. So total added is what? 7000 grams per hour. If I want to take this process to pinch point, according to our earlier analysis, how much amount of mass contaminant I can add? $9,000. Even graphical approach says 9,000. Right? So if I've already added 7, how much I'm left with? If I already added 7, how much I'm left with? Out of 9, 7 is already added.
2.
How much I'm left with is
2.
2. Right? Operation 3 can accept 50 ppm water, right? But I have 20 tons per hour of fresh water with me. Do I have it? Because what I've used is 20 here, 50 here. So I'm having still 20 tons per hour of fresh water. So this is operation 3. Just see, I'm adding 2 kg per hour or 2000 grams per hour, and right, my flow rate is 20 tons per hour. What will be the outlet concentration? 100. In other words, I have 2 grams per hour, 2 kg per hour or 2000 grams per hour of the contaminant. My maximum outlet concentration till pinch point is 100, and hence I require 20 tons per hour of fresh water. This will always be a tightly, placed material balance, right? So above pinch, that is above this line, what I am going to do is I am going to supply 20 tons per hour of water to operation 1, 50 tons per hour of water to operation 2, and 20 tons per hour of water to operation 3, thereby taking operation 1 to 100 ppm, operation 2 to 100 ppm, and operation 3 to 100 ppm. Why operation 4 is not appearing here? Because operation 4 starts with 400 ppm, which is after the pinch. Right? Operation 1 and 2 are not in further analysis because their maximum outlet concentration itself is 100 ppm. But operation 3, I need to further analyze because it runs from 50 and goes to 800. I've just taken it to 100 ppm. Right? So is this side of design clear to everybody? Is this side of design clear to everybody? 20 tons per hour for operation 1, freshwater, 50 tons per hour operation 2, freshwater, and 20 tons per hour freshwater to operation 3. Is this clear to everyone? Or you need any further explanation?
Sir, please some more explanation about it. Last.
So operation 3?
Yeah, sir. Operation 3.
Okay. So operation 1, see, operation 1, I have supplied 20 tons per hour, thereby I have added 2000 grams per hour of contaminant to water. Now see, understand my design, this is my design strategy. Till pinch point, I will use 90 tons per hour of water and I'll add 9000 grams per hour of contaminant to water. These are my targets, right? So till pinch point, when all the operation reaches pinch point, right, I cannot use more than 90 tons per hour of fresh water. I should not use less than 90 tons per hour of fresh water, and I have to make sure that I'm only adding 9000 grams per hour, nothing less than that, nothing more than that. Is this clear to everybody?
Yes, sir. This is clear.
So that forms the base for our further design. Okay. Now this requires fresh water 20 tons and 2 grams per hour or 2 kg per hour of contaminant. Correct? Okay. Operation 2. Operation 2 adds 5 kg per hour or 5000 grams per hour, right? And it requires 50 tons per hour of fresh water. So I've used 70 tons per hour of fresh water and 7000 grams per hour of contaminant. So how much contaminant I am left with for this region? 2000 or 2 kg per hour, right? So that is something which I know. Now see, again I'll go to this. My flow rate is equal to mass contaminant upon delta C. I have used 70 tons per hour of fresh water. Correct? 50, 20. So how much I am left with? 20. How much contaminant I can add? 2000. So what will be the delta C? If I take it there and take this here, my delta C would be 100. This is 20, right? So delta C would be 100. That means I'll take operation 3 to 100. Here? See, I'll write it here.
Yes, sir.
In a bit proper way. Delta C is mass contaminant upon flow. Mass contaminant I have is 2000. Freshwater flow I have is 20. Hence this becomes 100. So this is going to be obvious. If you said if you fix delta C to be 100 and mass contaminant to be 2000, your fresh water should come down 20. So this is tightly balanced, right? The reason for that tight balance is this line. Just look at this line. It is touching it here, right? If this would have been slightly like this, in between this, you may have some kind of lesser concentration or more flow of fresh water, but we have tightly drawn the lines which just touches the point. Hence the material balance is completely tight. So 20, 50, 20, these two lines or these two operations are dealt with and have reached to 100 ppm. How much water has come to 100 ppm? 20, 50 and 20. One more thing, if you are not able to understand this intermediate water means is actually an imaginary water mean. So I am not going to actually make two parts of operation 3. I just cannot. Operation 3 is a single operation. But right now I am imagining, right now I am visualizing that operation 3 has two parts. One part which is on the left hand side of water mains, 100 ppm, other is on the right hand side of 100 ppm. So that pinch is an imaginary water mains right now, right? Because that can make sometimes people confused that how can I have two different parts of operation 3? There are no two different parts. It will be single. Right now we are looking at it from two different parts, and eventually we are going to make it one. So is this slightly or better than what it was? If yes, I can proceed further. Right? So 50, 20, 20, 252, making it 9 and 90. So now 90 tons per hour of 100 ppm has water which has reached to this water mains, out of which 45.7 I'm going to use and remaining will go to wastewater. From where these two values are coming? These two values are coming from this slide. Right? Below pinch, my flow rate required would be 45.7. Why? Because my contaminant which is going to be added is 32,000 and the concentration difference is 800 minus 800, which is making 700. Right? So let's go to the other part. So this is the other part. Let's see operation 3. Operation 3, how do I get this 40 tons per hour? Just look at this diagram. Okay. In operation 3, what is the total contaminant added? Operation 3. Total contaminant added is how much?
30,000.
30,000, right? Okay.
Yes, sir.
How much we have added here? How much have we added here in operation 3? 2,000. So what is remaining? So what is remaining?
30
minus
2.
2. So that is remaining. So that is what? 28,000. So 2 to 30, that is 28,000. What is the, see again I'll write the same equation. Flow rate is equal to mass contaminant upon delta C. What is mass contaminant? 28,000 or 28 kg per hour. What is delta C? 800 minus 100. That is 700. So what would be the answer?
4,000.
40. 28,000 upon 700. So it is 40.
Yeah,
So 40
40,
tons
sir.
per hour. 40 tons per hour. If I supply 40 tons per hour, 100 ppm to operation 3, it will reach to 800 ppm. Correct? How much I am left with? 5.7, because out of 45.7, 40 I have used in operation 3. So if I supply 5.7 here, just look again, this will be tight material balance. It's not, just because of the fluke, it has come to the same answer. See, operation 4 can accept. Operation 4 can accept 400 ppm, up to 400 ppm. So anything less than 400 also you can accept, right? So if I'm having 400 as an inlet, my flow rate, if I'm having 400, my flow rate is 10 tons per hour. But if I'm having 100 ppm, the flow rate goes to 5.7. So that is 5.700 ppm. So I have used entirely 45.7 and it reaches to 800 ppm. So thereby, I have completed the network. Let me show you that. But the problem is not with operation 1, not with operation 2, not with operation 4. Here there is a problem. The answer here was 20 and here was 40. Is it possible? Is it practically possible to have in the same operation two different flow rates? 20 till it reaches to 100 ppm and then 40 once it goes past 100 ppm. Is it practically possible to do that? Are you able to appreciate the problem in this? See, 20 tons per hour I have supplied here and 40 tons per hour supplied here. Is it possible to have two different flow rates for the same operation?
Difficult, sir. Not possible.
No, not possible. It's not possible. It's not difficult. It's not possible. You have one operation and you are adding water at some flow rate. Now that some flow rate will remain throughout. And even if you want to decrease or do something, how can you measure the concentration continuously in between? So that's not possible, right? And hence you have to take a call. Either it will be 20 or it will be 40. Okay, just tell me this 20 tons per hour of the water which I have added is with, what I feel is this will make you more attentive. Okay, so coming back to this, I think what we discussed was this, that there were 3 operations before the 100 ppm line: 20 tons per hour, 50 tons per hour, 20 tons per hour, right? And this 20 tons per hour will take operation 3 to 100 ppm, whereas operation 3 runs from 50 to 800, and it adds 30,000 grams per hour, right? So when you add only 2,000, it reaches to 100. Remaining 28,000 we are adding here. But while we add that, the flow rate goes to 40. So we also discussed that on one side it is 20, on other side it is 40 is not possible. So we have to make some way. How do we do that? So this is the theory behind that. I'll skip this theory. You can refer to Smith textbook for understanding this theory. But this is something which we did, and I think I was explaining this slide while I got a call from Reshma Madam that we are out of the meeting. So what is happening? And I was like, why I'm not getting the feedbacks? So what is happening? Just try to see this. Just try to see this. What is happening here? So first operation 20 tons per hour, second operation 50 tons per hour, third operation fresh water 20 tons per hour reaches to 100 ppm, and from this point onwards 40 tons per hour, and this is 5.7. So I have made the metal balance quite proper. Till 100 ppm 90 tons, and after 100 ppm 45.7 tons, right? But we have not reused anything till now, right? If you look at this figure, you'll be able to understand what are we reusing. Just see, I'm taking 20 tons per hour of 100 ppm and I'm adding it to 20 tons per hour of fresh water or 0 ppm. So actually what is going inside operation 3? Correct? 20 tons for a fresh water, 100 ppm, I mix it, so this becomes 40. So the issue which we were discussing, that on one side it is 20, on the other side it is 40, is eliminated by taking 20 tons 100 ppm from the intermediate mains, adding it to 20 tons fresh water and giving it to operation 3. So 40 tons per hour, 50 ppm. Anyway, operation 3 can always accept 50 ppm. So operation 1, operation 2, operation 3 and operation 4 all are covered, and whatever we done is we have used 20 tons per hour 100 ppm and mixed it with 20 tons per hour of fresh water to make it 40 tons per hour, and we have supplied operation 3. So what actually has happened, if I remove this intermediate grid, this is what has happened. Just see this. Are you able to understand what is happening here? Operation 1 is here, 20 tons, it generates 20 ton 100 ppm. This is added to fresh water 20 tons per hour, making 40 tons per hour 50 ppm, going to operation 3 and 50 tons per hour, generating 50 tons per hour of 100 ppm, out of which 5.7 goes to this and remaining goes to wastewater. I'll come back to this slide. I just would like you to take back to the initial slides where I was discussing about 4 different approaches. What were those 4 different approaches? Minimize the fresh water. Second, reuse. So that reuse concept is what we have shown in the last slide. Just see this. Have we done this? Operation 1, outlet mixed with fresh water. Operation 3. Operation 2, outlet mix it with fresh water. Operation 4. Right, precisely this is what we did, right? To achieve the required minimum water flow rate. So we have used the concept of pinch in order to design a network here. And this is your network. Just see this. Correct? Right? Madam?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I've got few
Yes,
slides.
yes.
I've got few slides. If you have got some time, I'll discuss them. Else I'll share this PPT with you.
Sir, actually, next speaker will join within 10 minutes.
Fine, fair enough. And they have a tea break.
Yes,
So I
3:45
think
there
we
will
can-
be.
So the best thing is this is I can share the paper. I can share the research paper also of this. So those who can who are interested can go through that. I'll share with you, madam, this PPT
Okay.
and the
Yes,
paper.
sir.
They can go through the entire thing is based on this load table. So you don't need to undergo all these discussions which we did here, and we generate the load table below pinch, above pinch, and we make the final network. So though it is 3-4 slides, but the discussion may take longer. That is why I asked what is the next. So we can stop here. This is the summary of what we discussed today. And more importantly, I would like you people to raise a query if there is any. If not now, because of the want of time, you may not ask this here maybe. Then you can do it here. Only thing is this is PURA and not PIRUA. This is PURA, MILIND dot JOSHIPURA at nirmauni.ac.in. I hope it is visible. Right?
Yes, yes, sir, visible.
Yeah.
Yes,
So you
yes.
can send it to me on this email. I'll try to help you out with the query. I'll surely send the PDF of this and the paper which I'm referring to for your further reading if you are interested in. So it is JOSHIPURA. Fine. So I'm very happy that the organizers gave me the opportunity to interact with the large participation list. It is always difficult, I'll tell you, to manage such programs because they have to interact with the faculty members, with the resource persons. So big thank you and big applause to the organizers, and I would wish that sometime I can come there in person and we can meet. So thank you everyone. If you have no other queries, we can stop it here, right, and see you somewhere in future. Thank you.